Israel's greatest fear is not Iran's missiles. It is someone advising Iran behind the scenes. The United States brokered a ceasefire only to find it hit a fake target. Most people cannot read this chess game. Everyone is blinded by the surface warfare. As of today, the Middle East situation has undergone a subversive reversal. A ceasefire is never the start of peace. It is a countdown to a bigger war today. I will break down this earth-shattering scam from 4 core dimensions. Uncover the fatal truth behind Israel's defiance of the ceasefire. Dare you listen till the end? Do you understand first dimension, the double-standard ceasefire trap? The U.S. and Israel staged the world's biggest farce. The global announced Middle East ceasefire took effect. Precisely at 0 hour and 0 minute, Reuters exclusively disclosed the core terms of the agreement. The U.S. and Iran halt all cross-border military strikes. All parties stop weapons delivery and fire support. The UN sets up a 24-hour monitoring team to oversee ceasefire compliance full-time. Everyone thought the Middle East would cool down. Everyone thought the war would end. What happened only 9 hours after the ceasefire? Israel launched its largest-scale airstrike nationwide, targeting core areas across Lebanon, the Israel Defense Forces stated publicly. The ceasefire does not bind Israel's operations. Lebanon is outside the ceasefire coverage. What is this? It is blatant double standards. It is an undisguised scam. Top secret documents from the Israeli State Audit Office were leaked, dated 7 days before the ceasefire. The IDF completed target locking across Lebanon. A total of 312 strike points were marked, divided into 7 strategic strike zones, covering command centers, weapons depots, and energy hubs. Each point marked with destruction priority, each strike calculated with precision. The FDD think tank released a special combat power assessment report. The IDF deployed 72 F-35I stealth fighter jets, paired with 54 F-16I multi-role fighters. 280 precision-guided bombs were dropped in a single airstrike, including 120 GBU-39 small-diameter bombs, designed to destroy underground reinforced fortifications. 60 GBU-28 bunker busters, capable of penetrating 18 meters of reinforced concrete. The cost comparison shocks everyone. A Hezbollah suicide drone costs only $28,000. An Iron Dome interceptor missile of the IDF costs as high as $420,000. A single Patriot 3 air defense missile costs over $4 million. Intercepting $10,000 equipment with $1 million weapons. What is this? It is a bottomless consumption. It is a war Israel cannot afford at all. Why does Israel fight despite huge losses? Why does it defy the global ceasefire consensus? Because it has no way out. Because it is strategically kidnapped. Do you understand this logic second dimension? Precision strikes on infrastructure. Israel hits Lebanon's national lifeline directly. This is not an ordinary military strike. It is a systematic national paralysis tactic. The IDF does not target scattered militants, only irreplaceable core nodes, a team of geopolitical experts from the London School of Economics calculated. This airstrike destroyed 6 core systems of Lebanon, each system critical to national survival. The first system, core power and energy hubs. The IDF precisely bombed 4 main substations, destroyed 13 high-voltage transmission trunks, bombed the Carnail National Switching Station. Remember this proper noun, Carnail Switching Station. The only intersection of Lebanon's north-south power grid, controlling 70% of the country's power distribution. The moment it was destroyed, Lebanon's national power supply plummeted by 89%, 100% power outage in Beirut, the capital, total blackout in 3 southern provinces. Power paralysis triggered an immediate chain reaction. Water supply systems shut down completely. Medical equipment stopped operating. Cold chain supplies were all scrapped. The second system, core oil refining facilities. The IDF struck the Tripoli refining base, destroyed 2 sets of CDU atmospheric and vacuum distillation units, the core of the refining industry, with a daily crude oil processing capacity of 197,000 barrels, supplying all fuel for Lebanon. 3,100,000 cubic meter oil storage tanks were also bombed, triggering a raging fire that burned for 28 hours. Thick smoke covering a 15-kilometer radius. Lebanon's fuel reserves lost 43% instantly. Civilian fuel prices soared 300% in a single day. The third system, core transportation and logistics channels, 4 freight terminals at the port of Beirut were bombed, 8 cross-border highway bridges destroyed. All transport ferries on the Litani River blocked. Lebanon's sea and land logistics were completely cut off. Humanitarian supplies could not enter the country. The fourth system, core communication and command networks, 7 signal relay base stations bombed. Hezbollah's encrypted communication frequency band paralyzed. Data transmission from underground command centers blocked. CNN war correspondent sent real-time data. The airstrike killed 726 people in Lebanon, injured 3,194 people to varying degrees. 22 public hospitals stopped admitting patients. 56 private hospitals ran out of resources. UNHCR statistics show the airstrike displaced 180,000 more civilians. Lebanon's already collapsed economy plunged into an irreversible abyss. Israel does not seek battlefield victory. Israel seeks complete submission. It destroys an entire country in exchange for its own temporary sense of security. This is the essence of hegemony. This is the ugliness of power politics. Can you believe this is the act of the civilized world? Third dimension. A strategic siege takes shape. Israel is trapped in an unsolvable dead end. Everyone thinks Israel is on the offensive. Everyone thinks Israel has the upper hand. The truth is exactly the opposite. Israel's being surrounded on all sides. It is heading for a strategic dead end. Look at the core size comparison. Israel has a total population of 9.59 million, a total land area of 25,740 square kilometers. No strategic depth across the territory. The maximum north-south distance is 443 kilometers. The maximum east-west distance is 114 kilometers. Fighter jets can cross the entire territory in 3 minutes. Rockets can cover core cities in 10 seconds. Now look at Iran's core data, a total population of 85 million. A total land area of 1.65 million square kilometers, strategic depth covering the entire West Asia, war reserves enough to sustain 10 years of consumption. The resistance axis backed by Iran has formed a closed siege, Reuters military statistics show. Hezbollah has 29,000 active militants in Lebanon, over 110,000 reserve troops, 138,000 rockets of various types in reserve, long-range missiles covering the entire territory of Israel. The Syrian government army deployed 80,000 border troops, 12,000 permanent troops of Iran's Quds force. Houthi forces in Yemen lock Red Sea shipping. Iraqi militias target U.S. military bases in the Middle East siege on 4 fronts. Besieged on all sides, Israel has no buffer space, no room to retreat. The latest war game results from the FDD think tank. The IDF has 133,000 active troops. Only 47,000 can be deployed to the northern front. A 60% troop shortage. Ammunition reserves only support 42 days of high-intensity combat. Air defense interceptor missile stocks are half depleted. Unable to counter saturated rocket attacks. What is the more fatal weakness? It is Israel's demographic structure. Its social endurance. Israel cannot sustain heavy casualties, cannot afford long-term war consumption. The resistance axis has no shortage of time, no shortage of troops. 30,000 drones consume millions of interceptor missiles. 100,000 rockets cover nationwide targets. This asymmetric warfare is Israel's fatal nemesis. Israel defies the ceasefire to bomb Lebanon, seemingly taking the initiative, actually forced to break the deadlock. It wants a quick victory, but falls into a long-term quagmire. It wants to deter opponents, but enrages the entire Middle East. The outcome is doomed. The more it fights, the more passive it becomes. The more it bombs, the more dangerous it gets. Do you see this dead-end fourth dimension? U.S.-Israel rift erupts. America's strategic layout collapses completely. The biggest loser in this ceasefire farce is not Lebanon, not Israel, but the United States that pulled the strings. What is America's core strategy? To disengage from the Middle East, to focus on the Indo-Pacific, to concentrate forces on containing the rise of major powers. That is why it forced a Middle East ceasefire. That is why it pressured all parties to stop confrontation. As a result, Israel turned its back directly, defied us orders openly, disrupted America's global layout completely. What is this? A subordinate biting the hand that feeds it, an ally betraying its leader. The U.S. Central Command made emergency deployment adjustments, forced to send 2 nuclear-powered aircraft carriers to the Middle East, deploy 60 F-22 stealth fighter jets, send 2 sets of THAAD anti-missile systems. Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar raised to Level 1 combat readiness. U.S. military bases in Iraq were fully locked down for defense. 5,000 U.S. troops originally scheduled to withdraw. All transfers canceled, stationed on site. America's strategic resources are firmly trapped in the Middle East quagmire, unable to disengage, unable to redeploy. This is the gift Israel gave the U.S. This is the true face of hegemonic alliances. No permanent allies, only permanent interests. The U.S. has supported Israel for decades to control the Middle East. Now, Israel has become too big to control, in turn kidnapping America's strategy. The U.S. wants a ceasefire. Israel insists on war. The U.S. wants to disengage. Israel drags it down deliberately. The contradictions between the two have become public. The rift is irreparable. Russia seized the golden opportunity, rapidly expanding its influence in the Middle East, sending Su-35 fighter jet formations to Syria, upgrading air defense systems at Khmeimim Air Base, fully seizing air supremacy in the eastern Mediterranean, building an energy transportation channel with Iran, breaking the U.S. energy blockade. Turkey took the chance to unite Sunni forces in the Middle East. Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and the UAE reached a consensus, jointly condemning Israel's airstrikes, refusing to cooperate with America's Middle East strategy, the Middle East hegemony the U.S. built for decades, teetering overnight, decades of layout, ruined in a single day. This is the fate of hegemony. This is the end of power politics. Do you understand this great power game? Raise your perspective, widen your vision. Let's look beyond the battlefield to the essence, beyond the war to the big picture. This is never a confrontation between Israel and Lebanon, never a feud between Iran and Israel. It is the ultimate reshuffle of the global geopolitical landscape. The inevitable transition from unipolar hegemony to a multipolar world. Weak nations never have a voice. Lebanon's territory is occupied. Civilians suffer. Reduced to cannon fodder in great power games, a victim of hegemonic struggles. It has no right to choose war, no qualification to stop war. This is the sorrow of weak nations. This is the truth of the law of the jungle. Israel runs amok with military force, acts arbitrarily with hegemonic backing, but it will never understand one truth. Military force cannot conquer people's hearts. Hegemony cannot buy security. A war of attrition will only destroy itself. Time is always on the side of justice, always on the side of resistance. The U.S. seeks to control the world, to dominate the Middle East. It will only backfire on its own ambitions, be dragged down by its own allies. The era of unipolar hegemony has ended completely. The dawn of a multipolar world has illuminated the Middle East in this global chess game. Who stays sober? Who upholds peace? Who does not fan the flames? Who does not create chaos? Who replaces confrontation with cooperation? Who replaces war with development? The whole world sees it clearly. The whole world keeps it in mind. Time will give the final answer. History will make a fair judgment. Responsible major powers will eventually win the world's respect. Hegemonic acts will eventually be spurned by history. There is no real ceasefire in the Middle East. Only a redistribution of interests. The flames of war are not truly extinguished. Only the landscape is completely reshaped. Israel's madness in defying the ceasefire cannot hide its fear. America's ambition to control the overall situation cannot hide its decline. Weakness is not a sin. Hegemony is the root of disaster. There are no winners in war. Peace is the only destination. If you understand the underlying logic of the Middle East, if you see the true face of hegemony, like and save this video, share the truth with more people. Follow me in the next episode. We will conduct an in-depth analysis. The earth-shattering layout on the other side of the Pacific. See through America's final madness. Understand the ultimate trend of the global landscape.